I'm Kathy Royer, and I'm from San Jose Rocks, and I would like to welcome everybody here. First of all, I'd like to thank J.C. Smith for introducing me to everybody, and he's the connector of all of this. And also thank you to the Smoking Pig. They've graciously hosted us here at their original location on 4th Street in downtown San Jose. They've been here since 2011, I believe, and I think all of you have performed here at one time or another.
Yeah, we were the first band.
You were the first band?
I talked the guy into, I even those pictures on the wall over there.
Wow.
Talked him into having blues.
There you go. So that's our first today.
Stage used to be there, huh?
Yeah.
So
Small.
yeah, the stage is right to our right when it's set up. And the first thing I'd like to do is have everybody give the highlights of their bio so we can place everybody in time, and then we can start digging in on some of the questions. And Gary, do you want to go first?
Okay. I'm Gary Smith. I've been playing blues in the South Bay since 1966. I used to play drums and I switched to harmonica in 1968 after being hypnotized by George Smith and Muddy Waters.
Nice.
And I had some early bands with some guys that went on to be pretty famous, and then I kind of started my own band after my sidemen had all been stolen by the name Blues Players. So then I started my own band, and that was probably 1970 or 71. And there's a lot more stuff I could tell you in between that.
And we'll get to all of that.
Yeah.
And I neglected to actually introduce all of you. So Gary Smith, Andy Just, J.C. Smith, Tim Richard. And before we move on, can you give us a little bit of background on where you were born, where you grew up, and how you started to actually get your interest in music?
I was born in San Francisco. I've been in the South Bay almost all my life, except we moved to Chicago for a few years. And what was the next question?
What spurred your interest in music?
Oh, you know, my family was real. You know, they were young people in the 50s, and they loved both loved music. You know, rhythm and blues and rock and roll. My mom worked in a soda fountain type place that had a great jukebox, and she was friends with the jukebox guy, and when he would come to change the records, he would give all the 45s to her and she would bring them home, and we would have a record party in the living room. And you know, the favorites were like the Platters and the early Ray Charles stuff, and Dinah Washington was huge, and other music too, but blues was, and you know, what they call rhythm and blues was really big on the jukebox, so it was really big in my house, and that's how I realized that, you know, that when I would listen to stuff, I would go, yeah, that's that, whatever that is, that's what I like. Whatever this song has, that's it right there.
I saw your eyes light up when you started to talk about it too.
And then eventually I realized that was blues. So that's how I started getting interested in blues, and you know, then I was just a kid in the Sunnyvale suburbs in the 60s, and we had a little garage band. It's called the Dukes of Floyd because everybody lived on Floyd Street. And actually, that era was real important to me as far as figuring out about that song that I really liked, and my actual blues mentor was from that time when we were in summer between high school and junior high. I would go over to the Dukes of Floyd clubhouse, which is the garage, you know, and more times than we would play music, we would be listening to like Wolfman Jack's show and stuff. And those guys told me, they go, "Hear that guy's voice?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, he's not the real Wolfman." I go, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, he is. They go, no, he's copying. He's a white guy, and he's copying this guy. He goes, no, Wolfman Jack is not. And they go, oh, yeah. And he goes, and then in the course of that conversation, coincidentally, he puts on a Howlin' Wolf record, Wolfman Jack does, because he played, the blues shit in those days. And he goes, Gary, this is it. And I listened to it, and it was like, it's like one of the heavy ones, like Smokestack Lightning or How Many More Years or something like that. And I go, eee! And that right there was when I figured out what blues was.
That was the moment.
Willie Flores, David Willie Flores, Andy knew him.
He was in my band.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Still with us. I seen him.
We saw him not too long ago.
Yeah,
when we played together about a year or so ago.
Yeah.
He looked good.
Well, that's a great
I
start.
didn't recognize him.
That's because he's still as tall as he was in junior high.
Short for his height, huh?
He was like a tough guy.
Well, do you want to go ahead and kick in now? And
Sure.
and I think you're the one person that wasn't born in California, right? You were born.
I was born, my name is Andy Just. I was born in Valdosta, Georgia. And my folks moved to Chicago after that. That's where the group of us Italians were, in Chicago. So we lived there for a few years, and then in around 1959, my folks decided that they were gonna, my uncles had moved to Cupertino, California, and so we did move to Cupertino, and that rough neighborhood, of Cupertino, man. When I tell the East Side guys that, I go, yeah, I come from Cupertino. They're like, ah! Because Kane would always like.
There's a TV show called Cupertino on.
Huh?
There's a TV show called Cupertino on right now. You know what I mean?
Back there, over there, they'll cut you with a gold card.
So, for me, my family, it's a different time. It's, now it's in the 60s, and it's just before the Beatles really hit, And my folks used to listen to like Harry Belafonte, Chet Atkins, movies, South Pacific. We had a stereo. And so I always had music, and my mom could play a little violin and an accordion. And my dad had a chromatic that I could never touch. He never would let me touch that. No. This cost $50 from Campy's Music. Yeah, he couldn't play nothing on it. It would sit in the drawer, and when they go to Grandma's, I'd open it up and I'd look at it. I'd messing around.
Got to
with
wipe
it.
off the fingerprints.
So for me, musically, I, kind of listen like the Four Seasons and that stuff. And then for me, when the Beatles and that English wave hit, that's when I started to like, oh, wow. When I saw the Ed Sullivan Show, with those, I go, man, this is something I would really like to do,
That's when it caught your heart.
And I was playing guitar, I was playing acoustic guitar, and I had 2 paper routes, and I saved up enough money, and I bought a Kalamazoo SG at World of Music.
Dang.
At World of Music. And
those guys
it didn't
had
have
money.
an amplifier, so my dad hooked it up so he could put it in the stereo. And so I was listening to the English stuff, from the Beatles to the Yardbirds or the Stones. It's more blues-based rock bands,
Exactly.
And once I heard Cream, I was like, wow, Clapton. This was like something else. And Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page.
They were a great band, man.
But what happened? Something switched. I go, well, who's this name McKinley Morganfield on these records? Well, nobody in the band was that name,
Right.
So, I had to ask around, and somebody said, well, these are African American blues players, the real deal, And I was like, wow. Well, I started to look into it. Like, I bought like a first Muddy record, a Howlin' Wolf record. I didn't even play harmonica. Oh, I always had harmonica, but I would play like the Beatles, "Love Me Do" or something. You used to get them for $1. Remember? The Marine Band for $1. And from there, I started to play rock blues with a band like around 7th grade. You know, I had a little quartet, and we do Cream songs and Yardbird songs and a couple of blues songs. I'm making this all short, so I'm jumping here. So then, before I graduated high school, I used to go to this pizza place. What was it called? Ricardo's. And this guy band was playing there. Sideburns down to here, a hat, and
is that pre or after Afro?
After. No, pre.
Yeah, and you had like Gomes with you and Watson or Billy Johnson, both. And
great cats, man.
Oh man,
Killer band, man.
and I saw that, and I go, wow. You know, I went and saw Cream live, and I was like, yeah. What's that smell? Smelled like marijuana. So these guys were playing straight up back then, at that time, Chicago blues, you know. And he played harmonica like I'd never heard that you could do that.
Wow.
You know, it was amplified, distorted harmonica. It reminded me a lot of a voice and a guitar. That's what really attracted me to it, because it had a voice ambience to it, and still you could play chops like a guitar.
And you could bend it.
Bend it, yeah, man. So, you know, I kind of just slowly worked my way in there. You know, you didn't have to be 21, I don't think. At a certain hour you could eat pizza.
For some reason, you could be 18 and here's a pitcher of beer. Boom!
Those were the days.
So I became friends with Gary, and our friendship developed just over the years from you know, years to years, you know, from he used to ride my motorcycles.
And the VW.
Yeah, man.
But never the Porsche.
And the Porsche.
I remember that Porsche.
Porsches.
Yeah. So
Remember,
now
I was from Cupertino.
I remember me and Renee Solis chasing you down from San Francisco to Palo Alto because you were playing the Keystone and you were opening for Albert, but you played at the Battle of the Harmonicas, and me and Renee were like, let's go over here, and let's go. And all of a sudden he got in, he's gone because he was flooring. He had that Porsche, and we were in like his El Camino.
You know, that's a whole different world and story, man, for sure.
Back in the
So
day.
now I know how you two met.
But that's how we met, and he's always been my brother forever. You know, he's the guy. He taught me, actually, a lot of harp players at that time, remember?
Yeah.
Like if you asked Rick Aspen, hey, how do you do that slow rubato? He wouldn't tell you.
He'd tell you wrong.
He'd lie. He'd lie.
Yeah.
You know, but he was
very
honest.
generous.
He was sharing, and
Well, I felt bad, man, because I knew it was really hard to figure that stuff out, and I would ask guys to help me, and then they would be like assholes about it, and I go, well, all right, and I figured that wasn't right, so if somebody asked me a question, I'd say, all right, look, it ain't rocket science.
You told me this one story about Rod, about the chromatic. What was that?
Rod Piazza?
Yeah, Rod Piazza.
Well, Rod had come up to do he didn't have a band at the time. It was before the Mighty Flyers. So he came up to steal my band, which became the Mighty Flyers with Watson.
Yeah, that's right.
Watson and Stuvie, yeah. So I got him some shows up in the city, and he would call you up to sit in when he was tired and wanted to take a little break. So in the middle of the set, he would call you up in the middle of a song. You know, like he'd be playing a monstrous chromatic solo, and then he'd put the harp down and he'd call you up, and you're supposed to play the harp. Well, what he didn't tell you is that this is kind of a blues thing. You either play blues in the key of D, or if you push the button in, the whole harmonica switches up a sharp, half step to D sharp. So the band was playing in D sharp. I come to pick up the harmonica. I'm gonna play in D in front of a packed house. That's how we used to learn.
That's my brother.
That's
piano.
how we learned how to play harmonica.
Cold dude.
Gary was the first cat, like, he said, you have to, and this was very, very important. He said, which I would tell anybody now too, you have to listen to the records. Yeah. You got to really listen to them and try to study and play them over and over and over. And I go, but who, Gary? And he goes, listen to Little Walter. He goes, that's the first guy, then there's Cotton, then there's, it went down. And Butterfield, after listening to Little Walter, I mean, I wasn't moved by Butterfield at first, and now that's kind of like my style even, you know, more buttery, you know, than some guys.
For the benefit of everybody else, Paul Butterfield, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Chicago blues, I'm not like a killer player on the Chicago blues and like traditionally, you know, like he is. And Aki has become like one of the guys now that's a pretty killer traditional guy. But he started playing really modern funky stuff too a little later on, like boppy stuff, you know, done it like Chameleon and stuff, remember? Yeah. And then I said, hey, that's kind of cool. You could not have to just
branch
play.
Out.
Yeah, man.
You even did reggae, I heard earlier tonight.
I did. Well, you know, the end of the 70s was a real difficult time for blues.
Yeah.
We were the Gary Smith Blues Band. We actually had to cross out the blues and just be the Gary Smith Band, or we would not get hired.
It didn't have the traction.
And so we started. Then I got with some kind of heavyweight players, you know, jazz funk guys like Harold Banks and Ken Baker and Billy Johnson and those guys, and we started playing, you know, what those guys wanted to play. And we would do a little Walter
Crusaders
song.
stuff, you know. And,
we would do a little Walter song and follow it with a Herbie Hancock song.
Man.
So I'm going to move over to the east side. So,
He's north side, but that's all right.
Okay. Well, okay, we'll go north side first then. One of the things you told me was you used to go over to the east side because it was a little grittier with the music.
Okay, I'll make this a short story. So I had my band, like, let's just call it the Cupertino band, okay? Whatever, it was that side of town band. And this guy told me, Larry Cali, if you guys remember him, he said, hey man, there's this little Mexican kid on the east side off of Story and King, you know, that he's got long hair and he's got SG and a twin and he plays like Albert King and B.B. King. And I go, come on, there's nobody does that.
We didn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it. And he stole them from me. He stole them too. I had him, then he stole them. I go, don't take them, again. Don't take them. It's like so. With him, we play with Fenton Robbins. Oh man. So I go over there, and here's this guy with ponytail and really, you know, sweet guy, you know, and his name is Chris Kane, and he's I go, hey, let's play something, and he goes, okay. So he puts on an Albert King record, LP, and plays the whole record, lick for lick, with the album. Mm-hmm. I said, holy Moses, this is, I love you. You know? And we became, and still are, tight friends. I mean, for all these years, you know, I mean, I got married and I saw Chris more than I would hang out. How come you never hang out with me? My wife, I'm going to Chris's, you know. And Chris, his family was really deep in the blues.
Oh yeah, Walter.
At Walter, his father, and they taught me a whole bunch about what blues, where it came, how it developed, and all the different aspects of it, you know, because it wasn't English, it was the real deal. And so Chris was a great teacher and always has been, and also Gary.
I remember Walter, take the message to the peoples.
You know, I would like to touch on that era for a second. And those people, those were the late 50s, early 60s blues fans. Yeah. And there was indigenous, if I can use the word, blues scene that I know very little about. And I always wanted to chat with Walt because he knew all about it. You know, he knew who was coming to town and where they were. But I believe there are still guys around, and maybe even Donnie and Robert Green. I think their dad was a musician.
He was, yeah.
Well, you bring up a good point, because as I'm trying to figure out the story of how the blues became such a big culture point here in San Jose, it does go back before you guys. It does. And they had all the bands coming through town, and they had the venues here. So it was your guys' parents who did start all of that.
Yeah.
And then you guys were playing the records and sharing the records.
And for me, going on the east side, as living on the other side of town, it introduced me to the culture of Afro-American and Mexican people.
Right.
And I was accepted, which was kind of, because you watch out, don't go down there, don't go do that, don't say that, don't do it. And I was
It was a little rougher then.
I mean, did I meet you on the east side?
No, we met years later.
Oh, yeah.
JJ's times.
Why don't we skip over to the north side here and tell us where it all started for you.
It all started for me.
Who are you?
In El Dorado, Arkansas.
Wow.
I moved from Arkansas before I turned 2 years old, and then when I was able to recognize music, I started out in rhythm and blues, and went through several different bands in the area of San Jose, and I played with just about all the top bands that was with NBC booking agents.
I remember those guys.
Yeah, and boy, it was...
Was that National Black Chillins?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't really start in the blues, but I did rhythm and blues, and then it kind of went into jazz, Latin, and then basically I wasn't really versed in the blues like these guys are, but
You had a pretty big band with Sam and those.
oh yeah, we had a band called Sweet Arrival.
Good record you guys got too.
Yeah, and we recorded. It was a good band, great band. Miss Sammy, and
Dave Lopes too.
Dave Lopes. Yeah, he was taken away by a drunk guy, and basically the my influence was rhythm and blues, and I played with I don't know how many bands from the area, but eventually I ended up playing with Gary Smith, and then from there, AJ, I played with AJ and him, Gary, and then Johnny, when we came from Arkansas, Johnny was the first, he's my cousin actually.
You didn't want to tell nobody.
I didn't want to, I had to give him credit.
Because I'm broke.
The credit didn't go through.
That's right.
Yeah, I was influenced by a lot of the rhythm and blues artists, and I did Latin, and went to go see a lot of shows and stuff, and then it was strange how I met. It wasn't strange, but anyway, Gary had this drummer. Was it Larry?
Harold Banks.
Larry.
Long hair.
Oh,
Yeah,
Larry Martin.
Larry Martin.
I remember a story about him.
Yeah. I used to see Gary playing, and I was trying to get into that type of music, and I would think hard and everything. I says, okay, how can I play with these guys? I wish Gary would call me. And next thing you know, Gary gives me a call. He says, hey man, the drummer. he just whacked his head on the hatch of his car. I need the drummer for tonight.
He probably did it. I don't know.
I think that was my opening to play with Gary. But basically, I know this is about the blues, but
What about John, man?
who? John Lee? John Lee?
Yeah, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Sister Monica too, right?
Oh yeah, no. But I remember one Monday, I get a phone call, and it's John Lee Hooker, and he called me up. He says, "I'm looking for a drummer. You know, I just got back from Europe and blah blah, and you know who I am, right?" I go, "Yeah, I know who you are," and I really didn't. But he gave me a rundown of what he was doing and everything, and he goes, "Oh, Tim, you think you might be interested?" I go, "Yeah, I think I would." And that was on a Monday. He called me, and I said, "Yeah, I think I'd be interested." And he says, "Okay, we leave tomorrow. Our first gig is in Omaha." I go, "Well, okay." He goes, "You got a problem with that?" I go, "No, I'll be ready for it." He goes, "Okay, the fellas will pick you up, blah, blah, blah." So we rode, we got there on Friday morning, really early. And the whole time we're riding, the keyboard player Deacon used to play with Freddie King. And he started playing with John Lee. And he was gave us a lowdown on what to watch for and listen for, and so we rode all the way listening to tapes and music of John Lee Hooker, and Deacon's explaining, you know, you got to wait for the pause and this and that. So we had a rehearsal around 3:30 in the afternoon, and we went and had a rehearsal. Lasted a half hour. That's without John Lee, though. It lasted about a half hour. And we worked it out, and you can imagine how scared I was. I didn't know really what to expect with John Lee.
So I'll kind of jump in for a moment just to clarify for those who may not know. John Lee Hooker moved to our area in the late 60s. He started off in Gilroy and then ended up in both Redwood City and Los Altos until he passed in, 2001, I believe.
2001.
Something like that. Yeah, we went to the service.
So we were really lucky to have him as one of the major influences around here, and he played a lot of the same places you guys played.
Oh, yeah.
Walk into JJ's and trip over him. What you doing here, John?
Yeah.
He shocked the shit out of me one time, and the limo pulled up to a dive I was playing at. Mm-hmm. He came out with a big entourage.
Bunch of women.
Yeah. He always has the young chick.
And he only said one thing. He said, "Gary, play juke."
Oh, yeah. What are you going to do for John, right?
For about a half hour.
Yeah.
We just found some footage from the Bodega in Campbell of John Lee Hooker from 1973. You'll probably enjoy seeing that.
That was before me, yeah.
Yeah, he's big impact around here. So.
Oh yeah, he was. That man, I miss him a lot, and he influenced a lot of my playing.
You played some great shows with them.
Oh, great shows, and the one that the Montreux, Switzerland Jazz Festival. That was, I remember that one top notch. They had some footage out on that, and
He's being modest. What about Carnegie Hall?
Carnegie Hall. 3 times.
That's what I mean. This guy wasn't even going to bring it up.
I know.
3 times.
Man.
But apparently, he preferred places like JJ's.
Yeah, he was, John Lee always liked the smaller clubs. He didn't really care for big venues, and he did the gigs, but he liked people right there, you know. He wanted to be.
Blues sounds better in a.
He ended up building his own
club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his club.
In San Francisco, right?
Yeah, yeah, the Boom Boom Room.
The Boom Boom Room.
The quote I read was that he liked it when he could tell people were feeling it.
Yeah.
Not just watching, but they were feeling it.
Yep, yep. And most of my gigs, I did 10 years with him, and most of the gigs that I've done, I did some nice festivals, but I did a lot of club gigs. And the clubs weren't giant. They were, I don't know the capacity, I couldn't tell you, but he liked that intimate setting. That was him. He really loved it, you know.
There was one other quick story. Apparently, John Lee Hooker, we'll talk a little bit later about the Fountain Blues Festival that's coming up, but he was at the second Fountain Blues, and so that would have been, 1982.
Yep.
And one of the guys was telling me how when they were setting up the stage, they had to put the mic down with his foot because they didn't know that's all part of it. You know, they had to hear.
That was his time.
Yeah.
I tried to talk him into some of the gigs that we did. He tried to talk him into, we were going to set up a board and everything, and he goes, "Oh, I used to do that. I'm paying you guys, so I'm paying you to play."
Not talk, give advice, right?
Yeah, so it's like, people were suggesting, wanting John Lee to do a solo, and he said, "F that." He says, "I'm paying you guys to play, and I like what you guys are doing, and you're getting paid, so just play." And John Lee had a bunch of sayings and different things that he would do, and it would remind me of our family, my uncles and aunts and everything.
From the South, all that Southern stuff.
The Southern stuff, man. And I felt at home, you know. But my time with John Lee, I cherish that dearly, and I missed the guy when he left. Everybody that was at his funeral.
It was tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
You know, one thing I liked about John, though, he would come out and see other cats, like you were saying, Gary. And I remember I was dating a woman that lived in Atherton, and I had met we'll talk about that. I had met at a gig that I played with John and you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'd go to Atherton, but Mark would be playing at Emerson Street Bar and Grill, Mark Ford. And they'd be playing there. So we'd go over there and go dancing. There'd be John, like 6 women. Come on over here. And he'd move somebody over to the side, and we'd sit there with them. And we'd get up dancing, right? And John would look around. I said, "Come on." And you get these women up. And, you know, you always wear them penny loafers, right?
But that one leg.
Yeah, but his shoes were a little big because, you know, he was an old cat. You know, his feet were hurting probably. But he'd be moving, but his shoes wouldn't leave the ground. His feet would be going up and down, but his shoes, and he had that leg. He had that
one leg. Really.
And Mark would be playing his butt off. We'd be laughing. Brett Jackson was in the band, and those cats.
Guitar player with Tower Power right now.
Oh,
Jerry Cortez?
Yeah, Jerry Cortez. Yeah. The Blue Meanies.
He came. We did some.
Then
gigs.
Weber came in.
Yeah. Garth was playing with them when I saw him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Garth was smoking.
That has to do a lot with the Bodega. There was so much movement there of great bands.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and all different
that
genres
that was
too.
the place.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to the venues in a moment also.
Every month, your name.
Now we're gonna go to the east side.
Oh,
And J.C. Smith, give us a little background on how you got started.
I was born a baby child. I was born. I moved to the east side when I was a month old, and I actually now own the house that I was raised in. You know, which is kind of cool. And Tim cracks me up because he says when they came to California, they all came. They moved down the street from us in the duplexes, and they had all their family in a 2-bedroom duplex when they first came out here. And
I was number 8.
yeah, that's a whole bunch of family. But I can, because I was little, and I can remember running a few doors down and stuff, and we play and stuff, and then they moved away, which kind of messed me up. But my sister would always take care of me and my cousins. So
Your older sister.
Yeah, I have an older sister, 13 years older than me. So when I was like 5, she was 18, but she never could go out to any of the things like they had Record Hop here in San Jose.
Yeah, that's right.
And then right after that, American Bandstand would come on. But all her friends went from San Jose High School. They'd go over to Record Hop and they could dance, you know. And so she'd come, run home, turn it on the TV, and watch her friends. And she'd grab me, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, and she'd be dancing with me. And my mom would be sitting there. She'd get up and do the Charleston every once in a while. It was a musical kind of thing that was happening there.
Yeah.
And then my mom went back to work. She was a Teamsters, and her and his grandmother, they worked at the canneries. So my mom would get up early and she'd pick up my other cousins, bring them over. Then they'd take off and go to the cannery. And then all, like my father and his father and my uncle and all them, they worked at FMC, Food Machinery Corporation. So we did okay, you know, financially for being on the east side, because they were hustling, and you could get a house for, like, I think our house cost $12,000 or $18,000 at the time.
Yep.
And
The good old days.
yeah. And so basically my first influence was my sister. Well, my mom and dad. My mom, she loved, but she wouldn't buy a stereo, but she'd listen to church radio, you know, gospel.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you could tune it in right, you might get Franklin preaching, or one of them cats. You know,
Yeah, man.
Or Cleveland, or one of those
Right,
cats.
that-
And they in
that's-
Cleveland with "Precious Lord, lead me on." You're like, wow, that was
That was some heavy preaching, man.
that's
give you
that's where a lot of the blues came from.
Little
you know?
hairs stand
And,
up on the back of your neck.
And I was scaring the hell out of me, you know, because I was a little demon child, you know, and so anyway, so basically that's where I started getting influences. And then, like, my mom, she'd drag me, like, when she'd be watching something, she'd yell at me, "Come in here, Little Richard's on, or Chuck Berry's on," you know, or be like something like American Bandstand, because I'd be doing some other stuff. And then, because I get tired of my sister dragging me around, you know. And when she didn't have me, she danced with the door. So you're doing the 7th step, they called it. But anyway,
7th step.
yeah, it's like a jitterbuggy kind of thing. So anyway, Chuck Berry, when I saw him, I was like, oh, that's what's happening, man. He was cool, right?
The coolest.
And then of course we started watching Ed Sullivan, and then, like Andy says, when the Beatles came on, and it was just like mind blowing. It was mind blowing for the whole world, to see that much power in just playing music, and girls almost diving off the rafters for these guys. I went,
And he's still making music.
I'd like to do that. That looks like fun, right? And so I told my dad I wanted to play guitar, and he got lit up, because I never knew. See, our parents wouldn't tell us a lot of the old stuff they used to do. They'd keep it from us because it was evil or something, And later on, I found out my dad was a bootlegger. He came out here with money, And him and my Uncle John Henry sit on the porch and pick guitars, And he made the best whiskey there was. So the lawyers and stuff would, like, his mom was telling me they were coming back from church one time in the wagon with his grandfather. He goes, "Oh, we got to get the big babies." That's what they called them, Big Baby, and they called my uncle, which is his grandfather's son. That was the nickname. We better get there, because they said they gonna come looking for the alcohol. And somebody had already told my dad, and he had my uncle and my cousin Curtis. My Uncle Jim, they'd go to him like it was going to work when he was making whiskey, and he'd shut everything down. And they'd be so mad when he shut everything down, because he would age it in barrels. So the lawyers and stuff were drinking his whiskey, and they didn't want him to go away, so they'd get the word out to him, and he'd shut it down. And so they ended up moving out here, because he got into something, how the South was, and he got into something with some white folks, and they said, that's it. So my uncle, we called him Uncle Great, Uncle Pat, my cousin Willie Thompson, and my dad, they came out and they went to Washington. They were cutting trees, and when they were driving looking for more work, and they found San Jose. And it was like, what is this? It was like paradise. Fruit everywhere, all this stuff. Nobody was giving them a hard time for being black, And so they moved out. Then slowly everybody started migrating out because it was a tight family. My dad and my mom and his grandmother and his grandfather, there were 2 brothers and they married 2 sisters.
Wow.
And my folks only had, me and my sister and my half-sister. I mean, me and my sister that passed away, I'm sorry. Right. And then everybody on my aunt's side had big families. You know, they had like 8 kids, 5 kids, 7 kids, you know, on and on down the line. And the funny thing about it, and them growing up in the church in the South, they'd always be singing, there'd always be some music, but we have a very musical family. Right. And a lot of people in our family either played an instrument or they sang or they did something, but it was really musical. And some of us did, you know, went farther with it. And then it wasn't until 20 years ago I found out we had another cousin that was from Arkansas who was very famous, Willie Big Eye Smith.
That's your cousin?
Yeah, and I didn't know that. We didn't know that, you know, until me and Willie started hanging out, and we started talking. Where you from? Where your people from? And so he goes back, and he comes back and goes, you know, your daddy was my uncle, and my daddy's uncle, and all that. And I go, what? Get out of here. And he goes, if anybody's lying, I'll whoop them. That was Willie. And so we used to, like, when he'd come out here, he'd leave the hotel and stay at my house. And we'd hang out and we'd eat and stuff, and vice versa. You know, when I go back there, we'd always go out and eat. And we'd play in Chicago, outside of Chicago, at a place called the Harlem Avenue Lounge. No matter what was happening during the Blues Festival, that Saturday, we would book me, him, Bob Strozier, and first we had Lenny Spatafore, and then Dennis Dove started coming out and hanging with us, and I got him in the band. And so we did that for about 7 years. Every Saturday of the Blues Festival, we
You should probably mention that Willie Smith was longtime Muddy Waters drummer.
Yeah, exactly. But he was playing harp then.
Right.
And then he recorded with me on my second record, you know, that Joanna Connor produced. But anyway, I'm jumping around. But let me just cut it short, and I'll get back to where it all started for me. So I was into it, and you know, I was a James Brown guy. That was my shtick. I love James Brown, you know. But I got a guitar, and I go, okay, Dad, can I get some lessons? He goes, you don't need no lessons. I'm like, that ended that, right? You know, so it kind of sat under my bed. And all my friends were going to D'Angelo's music, and they were learning how to play, and I was lost in the shuffle. And then as I got a little bit older, come junior high school time, I saw Buddy Rich. And I go, oh, man, that's what I want to do. And Buddy just lit up the stage. So I was going to the 7th grade, and since I was an idiot, I went to summer school in the 7th grade, and I met Cubby Ingram there. And Cubby was a drummer. He came from a family of drummers. Billy, Bobby, all those guys were drummers. Yep.
Douglas.
And so he started teaching me stuff on my first drum set with the desk, right? And so one day I went over to his house, and Douglas had been off tour, and he had a drum set in the basement. He goes, remember Cold Sweat? He goes, he showed me how to play it. So I played it. And he goes, you can do it. Let's start a band. I go, no, man, let's start a band. And so he goes, you play drums, I'll play bass. And so he got a bass guitar. And then we got some other guys from Roosevelt in junior high school. And we started a little band. And it turned into a bigger band, you know. And it turned into a 7-piece band. And then we all had just our friends just jumping in. And I remember my last time I played with them, it was in '69, and we're playing at College 5 campus because Bliss, his sister, was our manager, and she was going to school there over in UC Santa Cruz. And all of a sudden, these 2 guys walk in uniform, and me and Cubby just stopped playing, and it was his brother Al, and Cubby's brother Richard. They just got back from Vietnam. And we just ran up and we're hugging the guys and stuff like that. And then, you know, I fell off the thing for a while because I found, you know, other things like drugs and alcohol. And I got my first Jimi Hendrix record. And I was still playing a little drums, and Cubby and those guys were playing. And then I met Tommy. And that's when, you know, I was getting into rock and roll. Yeah. And so when I was about the eighth grade or so, Tommy would call me up, and he'd go, hey, man, you want to go to a jam session? I go, what the hell is that? You know, what's a jam session? I didn't know what that was. He goes, no, we're just going to get together and play. So me, him, and this guy, Kenny Chase, Tommy was always a little more advanced than everybody. He was the first driver. When he was 16 years old, he had an apartment. Crazy, right in back of Wiener Schnitzel on 19th and Santa Clara. So he would come and pick me up in this old van. He had one of those old panels, like a 40-something panel, and we'd jump in the back, and there'd be different things in the back that you could do, you know, and get your head right, and then you got to where you were going, you know, where teenagers acting a fool. It was like Cheech and Chong. We'd get out, and we knew like 4 songs. We didn't even know them. We started playing. There was a slow blues in A, a slow blues in E. I only knew why, because he was telling the guys the keys. Nobody sang, and Jumpin' Jack Flash had just come out, and we just jammed to that, right? And then Artie Chavez would be the other drummer. He's more of a rock drummer. But Tommy liked my drumming because I had kind of a soul thing going. And we did that for years. And then I just didn't play. I didn't play for about 11 years because I was all jacked up until my mother passed away. And I got real sentimental thinking about it, and I was real remorseful because I'd gotten in all sorts of trouble. I was an East Side kid, you know. I was always into something. Before that, though, I'd be so much influenced by going to see my cousin Tim through high school, because he had Underground Railroad, he had all these different bands that he was playing in, and we'd go up there and dance, and he had part of his family. He had Doreen in the band and stuff, and it was a really cool thing for me to watch these guys. And knowing I could do it, but I couldn't do it, I was too busy, you know, with other things in my life that weren't that healthy for me. But he kept playing, all these other guys kept playing, and I fell off the map, so I'm kind of a late starter. And so I got back into it after my mom passed away, and that was at the end of the 70s, where music was downhill. Everybody's playing records, everybody's discoing out, and so we had to look for alternative types of music. And a friend of mine was really into the Stones, but he was really into the punk movement. It's Mike Crumpton. And he wrote all these songs, right? And they were terrible, you know, and but it was fun. And so I went and bought a drum set, and I sat it up in the room where my mom died, and I just started banging away and stuff. And he goes, well, let's start a band. I go, okay. And then I was riding the bus one day coming from Valley Medical Center right by City College, and this young cat gets on. It was really long hair, and he had a flying V-shaped guitar. I go, can you play that thing? So I started playing all this classical. He starts playing all this rock and stuff. And he was from Birmingham, England. He was 18 years old, Robbie Steen. I go, hey, man, I know this cat, man. He's not a great guitar player, but he's a good songwriter, and I'm an okay drummer. He goes, well, do you want to get together? I go, yeah. And so we did. And we started getting together in my garage. In 30 days, we wrote 31 songs. So you can imagine how bad they were. Even one of them that our neighbor pissed us off because he'd always call the law on us. You know, it would happen every week. We show up one more time, we're impounding your equipment, you know. And we were so loud, we'd have kids from the next block sitting there listening to us. And the people that were upset, we'd find eggshells in front of our garage door. You know, they'd throw in eggs. But it was a punk band, and it was called Revelation, the Shape of Rock to Come. We won't talk about the spelling. But, and our rival band was a band called Girl School from England. And, you know, we talked trash about the girls that were rocking, and we were all machoed out. You know how punk was, and you didn't care, and you were pissed off about everything. And we'd hang out at the guys from Tsunami. They had a house, and they were all young guys. But every rock musician would show up over there in Santa Clara. I don't know why the place never got busted or raided, because we'd party from 2 o'clock till 5 in the morning at this house. And I met Jerry Rubalcaba at a park one day, and I'm talking to him. I was playing Frisbee, and I was talking to him. He just got back off tour for Johnny Rock's band, and he was playing all this stuff. And I go, yeah, I'm a drummer, blah, blah, blah. So how I ended up getting into the blues, there was a jam session at Joshua's. Do you remember Joshua's? Yeah. It was John Garcia.
And that was where?
It was in almost Santa Clara, right? San Jose, but Stevens Creek Boulevard. Yeah, it was in the Meridian Theaters where.
You go down into it.
So it was John Garcia and little.
I saw you there.
Yeah.
And little John Chrisley. John Chrisley was 11 years old. 11 years old. And John Chrisley was 11 years old. And little 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 And so I showed up over there, and there's Jerry. And so kid's playing his butt off, right? And he goes, oh, you want to play drums? And Jerry goes, all right, man, brother, we're going to play, you know. He goes, you play a shuffle? I go, yeah, I play a shuffle. And I get up and I start playing that ZZ Top kind of rocked out kind of, and he's trying to play and he's looking at me and he goes, you're the worst drummer I ever heard in my life. And my ego just dropped, and I'm full of Jack Daniels, and I go, you're gonna want to be in a band with me someday, blah, blah, blah. You know, I get all mad. And so I got so upset about it, and it got so entrenched in my mind. When I start playing with the other cats I was playing with, I just, we got to learn something. No, we're not going to do it. And I was so mad about it. I said, well, I quit. I got to learn how to do something else, right? Because it was really challenging for me, and I was so mad about what that guy had told me. And that's when I met George Cantu. And George had just left.
He just passed away.
Yeah, the late George Cantu. Great musician, great player. And he had just left Chris Kane's band.
He played with us for a while.
And so he's like, hey, man, why don't you come to this jam session? There was this guy on 16th Street, Pete Posada. And so I went over, and he was trying, and George started showing me, you know, it's something like this, and he couldn't describe it, right? And right at the same time when I was working over there, a guy talked me into possibly going and trying out for KKUP, because I told him I'd like to do radio someday. And so he says, why don't you go on over to KKUP and meet these guys? So I did, and you couldn't play any commercial radio, so my show started at midnight to 3, jazz, blues, reggae, and salsa. Speaking of that, Gary was the first blues DJ on KKUP.
Yes, and KKUP's been sponsored by your listeners since 1972.
Something like that,
You were the beginning?
It kind of started as what they called the Radio Club of Cupertino. Mm-hmm. And we were all going to De Anza College at the time, and I met the guy that started it was a guy named Dana Jang, yeah. And he wanted specialty shows, so he got Dave Hurd, Cornell Hurd.
We
got him to do the barn dance, Saturday night barn dance.
Yeah.
And I did harmonica Gary's triple cold shot of the big bad Chicago blues on I don't know, Monday or Tuesday night. And so he wanted, I think and then they had some crazy like Polish. They had a Polish show and just some international shows, that nobody else would put on the air.
Do all sorts of
Just flying around my head.
I know, we're gonna get that fly. Mike Pence sent him over here.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. Well, you've been at KKUP since...
Yeah, I've been there since 80, so
since 80.
46 years.
Johnny Cosmic.
Yeah, Johnny Cosmic on the air. So how I really got steeped into the blues was George said, hey, can I come by your station and hang out? So he come and he just started, because I knew B.B. King, Bobby Bland. That's it, And then he started pulling stuff. And he goes, listen to this, check this out, listen to this. And he would steal the records because he'd put them on, and he put a recorder into this turntable he had, and he could get these tunes. So he's turning me on to all these. So that made me start looking in the library. And I started going way back from Lightning, Tampa Red, all these different cats, right? And I come up with different guys that were in the area. Neil Barbecue Barnes, remember those cats, man? Yeah. Oh, of course, Muddy was a mainstay. He's still the man who invented electricity.
I was saying he was my buddy.
Neil Barnes. Yeah. Married Man Eyes. I remember that. And then I got turned on to Andy, and I got turned on to all the cats that were playing out. Because that Rockinitis album. Is that anywhere here?
I didn't bring it today.
Okay.
Something else.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to cut us a little bit short.
Yeah, that's
Jump
fine.
ahead you now
Oh yeah.
have your
So yeah, and then so eventually after playing with George for about 10 years, well actually before George, we actually played, me and Jerry ended up starting a band. We ended up in the band together, and it was a band called Tough City Band, and we did really well. And I got out of that, and then by meeting a guy, Jim Ferris, he talked me into joining the Blues Band Search. So I got together with George and a few other guys, and we ended up winning this thing, and that led me to open at the Fountain Blues Festival one year, and then we also took on the jam session at JJ's. Tommy Castro would play Sundays and I'd play on Saturdays.